So let's discuss the next topic, multi-slit diffraction. So we talked about diffraction of light or bending of light when you pass it through two slits. Now let's talk about multiple slits. So when you pass a white light passing through, so when white light passes through multiple slits, it splits in such a way that the slit actually creates dispersion. So it creates dispersion. So where it splits the light into its individual wavelengths, provided the slits are really small. The slits must be really small. Only then will this occur. So this process where when you pass light, so a device that contains a large number of containing a large number of evenly spaced parallel slits is called as a diffraction grating. So it's called as a diffraction grating. So a diffraction grating is basically one where you take a device and try to pass it through multiple slits where you put evenly spaced parallel slits. So you can manufacture by scratching glass with a sharp tool in a number of precisely parallel positions, and you can also create, what happens here is that when light passes through those small holes, it actually creates dispersion, specifically if it's a white light. So natural diffraction gratings are examples where you would see in feathers of birds. So the reason they show color is because of the presence of a diffraction grating like substances on their wings. A best example of this is to look at butterflies. Butterflies naturally do not have any pigments on them. Especially if you look at a blue butterfly, it actually does not have actual pigments on them. They generally can create color by diffraction. Right? So they have really small slits in the wings, and that butterfly wings can cause light to shine in such a way that when the light hits them, it reflects all the wavelengths through a dispersion and creates the colors. So this process of where having finger-like structures in regular patterns are reflection gratings producing constructive interference, so gives feathers colors not solely due to their pigmentation. This process of getting color due to diffraction grating is called iridescence. So this process is called iridescence, and this is one of the reasons where you would see, for example, the pigment that you see on an Australian opal or a butterfly are the colors because of really small reflectors that are in rows. When you look through a microscope, you can actually see them. So the idealization of how this occurs, so why is it that only constructive interference is seen? So remember that it's only constructive interferences that you see in light, is that due to a specific phenomenon of gratings and the gratings what they do to light. So when diffraction gratings So when you pass through a number of diffraction gratings, notice that when you pass it through double slit, you get a series of bright and dark fringes. But when you pass it through a diffraction grating, you get really bright constructive interferences and really dark destructive interferences. And you have a lot of space between them. This space is why colors are distinctive, and you can easily separate each of them to see clearly. So what is happening when you pass light through multiple slits? Let's take a look at how it looks like when light passes through multiple slits. So this is a diagram that shows you what happens when light passes through multiple slits. Notice that all the light that passes through the multiple slits ends up diffracting, and this diffraction causes it to bend, and that bending can cause it to create colors. So let's take the common sense here. Notice that it's still constructive interference, which means that the same equations are still valid. So d sine theta is still the same, is equal to m lambda. So we can use diffraction gratings as a very good measuring device for wavelengths of light. The reason we can't use this, we cannot use accurately for interference, is because interference creates a smudge. So you create a smudge of light where it's too dark in the center, and it generally fades out as it goes out of the edges. So which means you are exactly not sure where the exact pattern comes through. But in a diffraction grating, you actually get a solid bright fringes, evenly spaced at every given distance, because they are solidly placed and they have a lot of distance between them. So it's easy to differentiate one bright fringe from the other bright fringe. So this is one of the reasons why diffraction gratings are a great source of great device that can be used to calculate the wavelength of light. So here d represents the separation of the slits, or the equidistant distance between the two slits. So this is the distance between every two slits inside, and it has to be even across the sense, which means that all the slit distances must be d. So this is where you get a diffraction system. Let's take an example and let's see how we can calculate diffraction by using a diffraction grating. So let's try this problem here. So let's look at what the problem says first. So there are diffraction gratings with 10,000 lines per centimeter. Focus on this. There is no d given. So d is generally not given in problems for diffraction grating. So that is one clue for you to find out diffraction grating problems. So they have given 10,000 lines per centimeter, and suppose you have one and you send a beam of light through it 2 meters away. So the distance between the grating and the screen is 2 meters away. Find the angles of the first order diffraction of the shortest and the longest wavelengths of possible light. So that is 380 and 760 nanometers. And what is the distance between the ends of the rainbow colors produced from the first screen of the first order of interference? Notice that when it passes through the diffraction grating, it creates a barrage of lights where you start from, on the positive sense, you see on the upper side you see from violet to red on the larger side. On this side you start from violet again towards red. So they are asking us to find the angle for violet and the angle for red, so based on the wavelengths that are given. So let's start with the fundamental question. What is the value for d that we have? So that is 10,000 lines per centimeter square. So they have given us it has 10,000 lines per centimeter. So which means that if you take this as a diffraction grating, so then they have lines like this throughout the diffraction grating, and how many number of them? There are 10,000 of them. Then how do you calculate the distance between every two slits? So one way for calculating that is to inverse this value of per centimeter. So d value, so the distance value becomes 1 by 10,000 centimeter. So that becomes 10 to the power of negative 4 centimeter. So the d value here is 10 to the power of negative 4 centimeter. Now, so we know the distance of the two slits, between the two slits, d here, which is 10 to the power of negative 4 centimeter. Now they are asking us to calculate theta v and theta r. So for that they have given us lambda v, which is 380 nanometers, and lambda r, which is 760 nanometers. And the value that we already have is d. So the d value is 10 power negative 4 centimeter and d value is 10 power negative 4 centimeter. So convert all of the units into one single unit, which is meters. So 380 into 10 power negative 9 meter. This is 10 power negative 4 times 10 to the power of negative 2 meter. So that becomes 10 power negative 6 meter. So 10 power negative 6 meter. This is 760 into 10 power negative 9 meter. So we have converted everything into the clear units. Now for this, we know the formula is d sine theta equal to m lambda. So they have asked us the first order interference, which means that m is 1. So m is 1. Now what do we have for this value? So d into sine theta v is equal to m lambda v. So we need theta v. So sine theta v is equal to m lambda v by d. So m is 1 times lambda v is 380 into 10 power negative 9 over d is 10 power negative 6. So that value for sine theta v, when you calculate it, you should get 0.380. So when you calculate theta v, it becomes sine inverse of 0.380. So which gives you a value of 22.33 degrees. So try to calculate using a calculator, a scientific calculator, it becomes clear. So this is the first part of the problem. So now let's start the second part of the problem. So this is the second part of the problem. Again, you have d sine theta r here is m lambda r. So sine theta r becomes m lambda r by d. M is 1 times 760 into 10 power negative 9 over d is 1 into 10 power negative 6 meter. So sine theta r should be equal to 0.760. So which would give you a value of theta r, which is sine inverse of 0.760, so which is 49.46 degrees. So these are the two angles that we have. Now they have not asked us in the question, so what have they asked you in the question? So A, they are asking you to first find the angle, so we found the angles. Next they are asking you to find the distance between this, so we don't need to calculate it, so skip the second part of the problem. You don't need to calculate that specifically, so we are not going to do that part. So this is how you can use the case, you can use the diffraction gating problems and try to calculate the values. So let me give you one more problem so that you can practice on your own. So this is the problem. So what is the given here? So the wavelength is given, which is 632.8 nanometers, shines at a right angle to the surface of diffraction grating. Remember this, they have given per meter 150,500. So d becomes 1 over 150,500 meter. So they have asked us find the angles at which one would observe the first order and the second order maximum. So for m equal to 1 and m equal to 2, they are asking you to find theta 1 and theta 2. So try to use the data that we have in the problem. So lambda is given 632.8 nanometers. So use the data and try to solve the problem. So pause the video right here and try to solve this problem. So let's discuss the next topic, which is single slit diffraction. So when you have a slit that is really small, it can undergo small slit diffraction as well, where you would see a series of dark and bright fringes with the brightest fringe at the center. Obviously, you will get the brightest fringe at the center. So this is called as the central maxima. And on each direction, you get a minima and a maximum. So the dark one is called as the minima and the bright one is called as the maxima. So this is called as the first minima and this becomes the first maxima. Again, second minima, second maxima, third minima, third maxima. This way you can see single slit diffraction as well. So even when light passes through a single slit, it can still undergo a diffraction. So what would be the distance at which this generally occurs is written, so we can look at it as a single diagram. So light, when it passes through, you get the central maxima at 0. At plus lambda by d, you get the first minima, and the second minima at 2 lambda by d, third minima of 3 lambda by d. This way, as it goes along, you will see the values. Notice that this is the angle at which it forms, not the value by itself. This is the angle at which it forms. So d here represents the slit width. Right, so if you take the slit, this distance is basically called as d. So this is how we can calculate the value for that. So let's try a problem so that we can understand this concept better. So let's see this problem. Here you have visible light at wavelength 550 nanometers falls on a single slit and produces its second diffraction minimum at 45 degrees relative to the incident direction of the light. So they are asking you what is the width of the slit and at what angle is the first minima produced. So we know the same formula again. So d sine theta is equal to m lambda. So they are asking you the second diffraction minimum. So the second diffraction minimum is happening at the m lambda. So if you take the second diffraction minimum from this diagram, so which one is the second diffraction minimum? That is 2 lambda by d. So the angle at which it forms is 2 lambda by d. So sine theta is 2 lambda by d. So m here is 2. So they are asking us to find theta value for this. So sine theta is 2 times lambda value is 550 nanometers. So 550 into 10 power negative 9 over d is the value that we have to find here. So theta is given. So theta value is sine 45. So when you calculate this, so d becomes 2 times 550 into 10 power negative 9 over sine 45 degrees. So when you calculate, you should get a value of 1.56 into 10 power negative 6 meter. That's about 1.56 micrometer. Right, so this is the slit width. Next, the second question is at what angle is the first minima produced? So they are asking you if m equal to 1, what is the value of theta? So we know the formula again, d sine theta equal to m lambda. So sine theta becomes m lambda by d. So 1 times lambda here is 550 into 10 power negative 9 meters over d is 1.56 into 10 power negative 6 meter. So when you calculate this value, you will get 0.354. So theta becomes sine inverse of 0.354. So it should be equal to 20.7 degrees. So the first minima happens at 20.7 degrees. So this is how you can calculate the topic of the diffraction pattern when you pass it through a single slit. Now, so let's discuss the last concept in diffraction called the Rayleigh criterion. So Rayleigh criterion puts a limit on resolution of light. So the question comes back, what is resolution? So resolution is how can you distinctly look at two images and distinctly separate them. So when you look at two objects, how can you look at that and distinctly separate these objects? So the Rayleigh criterion over the first minimum of the diffraction of the other is given as theta equal to 1.22 lambda over d. So this is the value for theta. and for looking at a distance, this is the theta angle, this is the formula that we use to distinctly separate two objects. So this is the formula by which telescopes operate. This is also the formula by which your eye operates. So how you can distinctly separate two objects is by which how you can justify the idea here. So this is also used in several parts where you can see examples like optical focus. When you use your camera, the Rayleigh criterion is used everywhere. So that's the idea behind Rayleigh criterion. So Rayleigh criterion, it gives you the angle, that's the minimum angle that's required to look at two different objects, two separate objects separately. So that's the idea behind Rayleigh criterion. So next let's look at the last topic, lasers. So the objectives of this section are we want to describe the properties of laser light and explain how laser light has particular advantages in certain applications. So lasers are one of the most coherent sources of light. So lasers produce coherent light at one single wavelength. So the laser is an acronym for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So lasers can transform other forms of energy into coherent light. So they can use heat energy, they can use light energy, and they can use molecular energy to create coherent light. So coherent light always travels in a single direction and also produces the same wavelength. So one single wavelength of light. So one way by producing laser light is to input energy between a mirror and a partially transparent mirror. As the molecules vibrate, they reach, so you have an electron, so two positions here. The electron goes higher, it reaches a higher stage when it absorbs energy. So when the light generally loses when the molecule loses energy, it comes down to its ground state and releases the same energy. But understand that this is stimulated emission, meaning that you are forcing the electron that is in the higher ground state to come down to the you are stopping it in the middle of the path. So it releases light, h nu, radiation. This h nu is what we call laser light. It generally has high energy and it's generally very powerful. So most common uses of this are they are commonly used to measure distances with great precision, and they are commonly used in compact disc and DVD players. Lasers are used to read the digital data on this disc, and other applications in medicine like eye surgery, tumor removal and scar removal are generally done through lasers because of the precision they offer. So that is the last topic, lasers. So with that we end the lecture on interference and diffraction.